Hi, Andrew Dunkley here. Fred and I are taking a little bit of a break over the Christmas New Year period just to catch our breath. We'll be back sometime around mid-January. In the meantime, we've been digging through the archives at some of the most perplexing and popular episodes that we've done in recent times. So sit back and enjoy, and we'll see you in 2025.
15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 10, 9... Ignition sequence start.
Space Nuts.
5, 4, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Space Nuts.
Astronauts report it feels good.
As usual, joining me is astronomer at large, Professor Fred Watson. Hello, Fred.
Hi, Andrew. Good morning. It is morning as we record this, so I can say good morning.
Yes, it is. Yes. Now, I'm at a different location today. Do you love my teal wall?
It looks like a green screen. Yeah, it looks like a green screen that for you getting a good background on TV there. Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's just somebody painted the entire office that I work in teal. If I turned the camera around and showed you every wall in the place, they'd all be that colour. It's rather dreadful. But anyway, we carry on regardless. Okay, Fred, let's get down to business. We'll start off with this warning from NASA that the moon is approaching a cycle which, when combined with the climate change issues that the planet is facing, will see high tides exceeding flooding thresholds in some parts of the world. Now, they're talking the mid-2030s. This is quite astonishing.
Yes, that's right. It's nothing new as far as the astronomy is concerned. What we've got is a situation where astronomy and climate change are coming together, if I can put it that way. So the moon, it goes through various cycles. The one we all know is the monthly cycle. That's why we call it a month, because once a month the moon goes round in its orbit around the Earth. But the orbit itself undergoes other cycles as well. And in particular, there is an 18.6-year cycle that is to do with the precession of the moon's orbit. Now, I think we've talked about the precession of the Earth's axis before, and that's something easy to understand. If you think of the Earth as a big spinning top, it's spinning, rotates once every 24 hours, but its axis is also rotating around, just like a spinning top does, and that's called precession. In the case of the Earth's axis, it goes around once in 26,000 years, so it's a much longer period phenomenon. But the moon's orbit around the Earth does that too. If you think of the orbit as being in a flat plane, and then imagine a perpendicular to that plane, it's that perpendicular that's precessing very slightly around a pole, a bit like the Earth's axis does, and that's an 18.6-year cycle. And what it does is it changes the moon's orbit, not by much. It's certainly nothing you'd notice with the naked eye, but it changes it enough to affect the moon's influence on the tides on Earth. And so what happens is that sometimes during that 18.6-year cycle, you get high tides being a bit lower and low tides being a bit higher, which means the range is getting smaller. But at other times, the other half of the cycle, if I can put it that way, the high tides are higher and the low tides are lower. And that's what NASA scientists, along with scientists in the University of Hawaii, have raised an alert on, not to be alarmist, but to make the point that what this has, its practical effect is that low-lying coastal areas will have more of these things that are sometimes called nuisance floods where you've got a really high tide and it floods the streets of the coastal areas. There will be more of those. That's the point that they're making. And in particular, this is likely to be the case from the mid-2030s for a few years. And so what they're saying is not, this is a terrible situation, we're all going to die. It's not that. It's about advising city planners and local authorities that look after the flood protection on coastlines and things of that sort. All of these people who need to know that we're likely to see more of these events in the 2030s.
What about low-lying places like the Maldives that are only like 1 or 2 meters above sea level? What sort of an impact would it have on places like that?
Yes, exactly. So there are also places that are at risk because you might not get. It won't be dramatically that much higher than it is now, but it'll be more often. It might be. It's probably still a fraction of a meter that we're talking about, the difference, but it will happen more often.
Okay.
And
we've heard of king tides happening.
And that's
fairly
the kind
regularly.
of thing. Yeah.
Right. So maybe bigger king tides is what we're talking about.
That's exactly it. So technically, a king tide. So a spring tide is when the moon and the sun basically are in the same direction. So you get higher and lower tides. A king tide usually is that combined with meteorological effects, which, if you get a low pressure region, then the tide comes up higher. So you get these king tides. It's nothing like a tsunami. It's not that kind of thing we're talking about. It's just an increase in the tidal range. What I guess concerns me or interests me about this is that with sea level rise, that is a process that's going to continue for a very long time. So when we get to the next phase of the moon's precessional period, which will be in the 2050s, we're probably going to get even more effects from this. So the 2050s, we're going to see much more of these coastal intrusions of water. So it's a good warning. It's actually come from ocean scientists as well as astronomers. This work, it's been done very careful work. It's easy to find the reports on it. They've taken the results from many oceanographic studies and folded them into what we know about the effect of tides and the moon's orbit. So it's a well meant and well placed warning.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like their projections go right out to about 2080. So they've got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. I would imagine that if you're in the 2030s and one of these super king tides, I suppose they'll end up calling them in journalism, starts to happen at the same time as you get a massive low pressure system and a tropical storm of some kind in the same area, I can imagine what that would do.
That's right.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Very interesting stuff. And you can actually look up that paper. I think it's available through NASA. It's widely published, so it shouldn't be difficult to find. By the by, Fred, I used to live in Mackay in North Queensland. Julie and I moved up there just after we got married. Now, they have king tides. They have playing fields around some of the beaches there, and quite often they'll go a couple of feet underwater when they have a big tide. Yeah. And the real interesting thing that they've done in Mackay to try and alleviate some of these tidal surges is that they have built channels in the city that when you get a big tide comes in, the channels fill up so the land doesn't go under. We used to live in a house that had these channels behind them, and it sometimes was full to the brim of seawater. Wow. And then 6 hours later, it was empty. It was fascinating, quite fascinating.
Be a bit scary as well.
That's how some place. Yeah. So especially because it moves so fast. When the tide's going out, that water actually goes in a rush. Yeah. And it's a different world up there. I mean, I grew up around the Newcastle area where the tides were pretty mild. Meager would be the word, and it'd be the same in Sydney. But up in Mackay, you could actually walk with the incoming tide.
Oh, really?
It was really fascinating. Very slow walking pace, but it came in that fast. So, and I know there are other parts of the world where it actually comes in like a wave. So, it's really, I find that kind of influence of things like the moon on our waterways here just quite intriguing. I do find it amazing. And I've witnessed some pretty amazing tides and king tides over the years too. You are listening to the Space Nuts podcast with Andrew Dunkley and the good Professor Fred Watson.
Roger, you're loud and clear here also.
Space Nuts.
Hello, Space Nutters. I'm Anna, the host of the Astronomy Daily Podcast, and I'm here to share a couple of the stories we've been following this week as special bit extra for this holiday edition of Space Nuts. Today, we've got some heartwarming holiday cheer from the International Space Station and an exciting discovery about a galaxy that looks remarkably like our own Milky Way in its youth. So let's kick things off with a story befitting the season. The International Space Station is truly embracing the holiday spirit this year, with the crew sending down a delightful video message from their orbital home. Picture this: floating candy canes, and even a creative snowman made from stowage bags decorating their space sanctuary 260 miles above Earth. Commander Sunita Williams, sporting festive reindeer antlers, gathered with NASA astronauts Barry Wilmore, Don Pettit, and Nick Hague, along with their Russian colleagues Alexei Ovchinin, Ivan Wagner, and Alexander Gorbunov, to share their unique celebration. While being away from their Earthbound families during the holidays might seem challenging, the crew has created their own special festivities aboard the station. They've transformed their orbital outpost into a cozy holiday haven, complete with a small artificial Christmas tree adorned with ornaments featuring photos of their loved ones. The ground teams have made sure our space explorers won't miss out on holiday treats, preparing special festive meals for the crew. As Don Pettit enthusiastically shared, they're all set for quite a feast up there. It's particularly touching to note that they're not alone in their holiday duty. Ground crews across the globe are also spending their holidays ensuring our astronauts' mission continues smoothly. It's a reminder of the dedication and sacrifice that keeps our space program running, even during the festive season. Now, let me tell you about an absolutely fascinating discovery that's got the astronomy world buzzing. The James Webb Space Telescope has just captured images of what we might call our galaxy's baby photos, except these aren't actually of the Milky Way, but rather its ancient twin. Scientists have nicknamed this celestial gem the Firefly sparkle, and it's giving us an unprecedented glimpse into our cosmic past. This remarkable galaxy came into being just 600 million years after the Big Bang, which in cosmic terms is like looking at the universe in its infancy. What makes this discovery particularly special is that it features 10 distinct star clusters, each one shimmering like a firefly on a summer night. These clusters formed at different times, creating a structure that mirrors what astronomers believe our own Milky Way looked like in its early days. The Wellesley College team behind this discovery couldn't have asked for better images. The galaxy appears wrapped in a delicate, faint arc, and its mass matches what scientists estimate the Milky Ways would have been at the same stage of development. This is incredibly rare. Most galaxies we've spotted from this early period are actually much more massive than our own was at that time. This discovery is like finding a photo album of our galaxy's childhood, giving us a unique opportunity to understand how our cosmic home came to be. The stunning detail captured by the Webb telescope shows us various phases of star formation happening simultaneously, painting a picture of a dynamic, evolving system that's helping us piece together the story of galaxy formation in the early universe. The most remarkable aspect of this discovery lies in the numbers. When astronomers measured the Firefly sparkle's mass, they found something extraordinary. It perfectly matches what we believe our own Milky Way weighed during its formative years. This is a cosmic coincidence that's giving scientists unprecedented insights into our galactic history. Think of it as finding your exact genetic twin, someone who not only looks like you, but shares your precise genetic makeup. That's essentially what we've found here in space. While other galaxies we've observed from this early period tend to be much larger, the Firefly sparkle is giving us a precise mirror image of our galaxy's youth. This discovery opens up exciting new possibilities for understanding how galaxies like our own come together. By studying the Firefly sparkle in detail, astronomers can now observe in real time the processes that shaped our cosmic neighborhood billions of years ago. It's like having a window into our own past, allowing us to watch as stars form, clusters develop, and the basic structure of a galaxy takes shape. The level of detail we can see in this ancient galaxy is unprecedented, thanks to the incredible capabilities of the James Webb Space Telescope. Scientists can now examine everything from individual star clusters to the overall galactic structure, providing valuable data that will help refine our models of galaxy formation and evolution. That's all for today's short news update. I've been your host, Anna, and I must say, sharing these fascinating stories about holiday celebrations in space and ancient galaxy discoveries has been absolutely thrilling. Whether it's astronauts creating festive memories aboard the ISS or groundbreaking discoveries about our galaxy's cosmic twin, the universe never ceases to amaze us. If you're hungry for more space and astronomy updates, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and visit our website at astronomydaily.io, where we bring you fresh cosmic discoveries every single day. Until next time, keep looking up and stay curious about the wonders above us.
Space Nuts. You've been listening to the Space Nuts podcast.
Mission complete, Houston.
Available at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast player. You can also stream on demand at Bytes.com.
This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com.